All right, welcome back to the First Pitch podcast, guys. I know it's been a little bit. Me and Rose have been getting through the last little segments, or I guess chapters of our life, with Rose finishing up his presidency and me obviously moving to a new state. Both of those are quite big. Those are huge chapters, a very big transition, but it's a transition that will benefit us for the long term. It's going to give us a lot more free time to do this and give you guys a lot more sauce. So, without further ado, Rose, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. Let's jump right in. Super excited for today's podcast. Brad and I have intentionally been thinking a lot about like what would you guys like to see, and so if there is anything that you all are wanting to see or learn about, or just have us talk about, just message us, DM us. We are always open to new ideas. But today we're excited to talk about goal setting and identity goals, how you share your goals or with who you share your goals, and even maybe debate a little bit if it's better to share your goals publicly or or just keep them private to yourself. So without further ado, we'll just jump right in. Brad, do you want to kind of start us off with some of the points you may have or a question you may want to propose?
Yes. So, me and Rose were talking about it the other day. We were just thinking about some content that we wanted to showcase to you guys, change it up a little bit. So, today we're coming from a standpoint of, should you share your content and what you're doing with your business to the world, or should you keep it a little bit more private and to yourself? And Rose is coming from the standpoint of, you should keep it private and work on that in your own time and do that on your own. And then I'm coming from the standpoint of, you should be showcasing that to the world and showing everyone what you're actually doing. So, from my standpoint, to start us off, because we'll go back and forth, but show them what you're doing in your process to, I guess, not only hold you accountable at the end of the day, because you're putting that out into the universe, and it's kind of pinpointed out there. And if you don't follow up with what you're trying to do at the end of the day, people are going to take your word a lot less seriously. And I feel like that holds you accountable to another level to achieve those goals a little bit faster, because I personally do this in my daily life. If I don't get something accomplished, someone will remember that a lot more, and that'll stamp that to my character, which could or could not help your case in that sense. It just depends if people want to be held to that extreme accountability. Another aspect of that is, while you're building, people want to see the brand process of what you're doing day by day. It showcases that you're human. It showcases that you're raw. It just doesn't show that you're a fake person at the end of the day. I know we could get kind of lost in the idea when you see an actor on a movie screen. You think it's hard to think that they have a real life and everyday routine as well, like we do, because they're humans as
Mhm.
well. And people tend to forget that when you just show the good of the brand, rather than showing the bad and the vulnerability, like the emotions, the tears, everything that's going on through the brand process. People want to see that. They want to see the raw intentions. Like, I know Iconic, the CEO of Iconic, he runs Open Residency as well. I don't know if you're familiar with Open Residency, but
Uh-uh.
his co-founder is Cole. Cole's the guy who makes all this crazy edits for with like LeBron and Michael Jordan and Drake. So they both started that in 2017 or 2018. So the reason why they blew up so quickly was they were recording the whole brand process on YouTube, and then they were bringing in people like Gary Vee, other people like Rick Ross, I believe Drake as well at one point, like 2 years down the line, just from showcasing the brand process, getting their personal brand down to a T, and doing what they love and integrating all three of those into one thing. And that's how they attracted all these big names to I guess expand on their fame. And from there, I mean, they never really looked back. They were just attracting more and more of those exotic clients. And that was all done through that brand process and showing the raw vulnerability. They lived together. Three dudes living in one apartment, and they worked in some corporate finance jobs. Got out of that within 3 months because people were just locked in on the whole personal brand thing. And I think that's when it's just first started blowing up. But that is my first point.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So you're kind of referencing more the personal brand side of things, which you guys like see is very common nowadays. Like all over my Instagram feed, there's guys, running their own personal brand,
Mhm.
highlighting their daily lives, really just raw content, which I actually really like. I think it's very strong, it's very authentic. And this is a point Brad and I have hit on before, but something that we're passionate about is like building authenticity in your brand. And if that means, showcasing your daily life, then that's probably honestly the best way to do it. So no, I'm totally with you. I think that's a great point. I was gonna ask you to kind of to expound on that a little bit. So for you, when it comes to like sharing your goals publicly or like putting out things publicly, does that only come in the form of like content and like personal brand content, or what else could that look like to you?
I feel like that could be portrayed in any way that you may see, whether that is getting out there on the streets and telling people about something that you're doing. Like I saw people on the streets saying, try out my app and check out my
Mhm.
Instagram, things like that, so they could see exactly what they're doing. I've seen other people go to different, I guess, podcasts. They've been on different podcasts where they've spoken a little bit about what they're doing and I guess self-promoting that way as well. There's different venues and different, I guess, tech events. I'm just talking from like an app
Yeah,
perspective,
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess, that where people have just gone there and they're trying to be the face of the brand because by being the face of the brand, you actually bring in more people because it seems a little bit more human. Obviously, a human wants to interact with a human at the end of the day and know who's creating the app one, but why the app was created originally. And once you get that human to human experience and kind of know a little bit more about their background because you've seen things they posted, whether that be on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, you feel a little bit more connected
Mhm.
with the founder of the app, which in fold, in my opinion, makes it more of a reason to try the app because you've seen that face multiple times.
Mhm.
There was I forgot who said this, but someone, I believe it was Lucas, that said you need 7 different touch points of someone's face or a business to actually go and at least try that product.
Mhm.
Whether that's through physical advertising or digital advertising, you need to see at least 7 different step or 7
Gotcha.
different touch points in general, to go ahead and try that product, so
Yeah, I know that's a good point. So it's more to of like a form of marketing, right?
Mhm,
Like when you're going out and you're talking to people about this app or this product you have, and you're seeing this face to face, it's a form of eventually you're trying to tie this person back to your product, right? So for you, it's efficient because it's a way of marketing, which I also agree with. I think that's yeah, it's a really good point. I think one thing I'm coming from is less of like the marketing side of it and more of like your own personal goals and like
mhm,
more of your personal ambitions, right? And so kind of going back to your first point a little bit, because that's where you really touched on it was, I really like this personal brand content because it's people getting the opportunity to share like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do in life. Like, come along with me for the ride. And I remember, so it's funny because and we'll touch on more of our personal lives too in this podcast. But I started out as a pre med student and I was like fully going down like the doctor route, but I kind of switched up. And I can get into that later. But I remember when I was doing pre med, there was a guy I followed on Instagram who was like every day he would just post like a montage like video of him studying for the MCAT, and it was like really simple content, but it was really authentic and it was really cool to follow along. And
mhm,
I don't even know if like he did like super great, but either way he got a lot of followers and like just people like rallying for him. So I definitely can see like there's a way to use content as a way to like build a support system authentically, right? And get support that way. One of the points I was going to share today was it's a common thing we've heard throughout our life, and whether you agree or disagree, but just that like be quiet in your works and let success follow kind of thing. And it's something we've been taught a lot. I think one thing that's pretty interesting, and I kind of want to quote this was there was a study done by this guy. His name is a psychologist named Peter Goldwitzer, and he published in a journal back in 2009 of him and a few researchers. They basically tracked people who were working towards identity goals, so like becoming a lawyer or a scientist, and they would track like their behavioral intentions, and then they would basically what the control was versus like the variable they were changing was they would have people openly be noticed about their goals and acknowledged by other people versus others who were they had to be strictly private about their goals. And they actually found that people who were more private about their goals executed it more significantly and compared to those who were more openly acknowledged, which is kind of
mhm,
interesting. I think but they were trying to show more like this type of idea when you're sharing it too much can kind of like hit a dopamine spark and like this sense of like completeness, right? that substitutes for actually doing the work, right? So, which I think we could both agree on that. Like, there's a lot of people, even ourselves at times, sometimes we've talked about this. Like when we're talking about our goals and to another person, to each other, we get really excited and kind of ramped up and it's like dopamine hits
Yeah,
and
dopamine
you're
talk.
excited. Yeah, the dopamine talk, but then you don't actually go out and do anything,
Mhm,
right? And so it can't be a substitute for actually doing the work. So again, and that's just an interesting point. I think one thing we're going to find in our conversation is like you can pull from all of this together to kind of form like what's best fit for you and your goals, you know?
mhm.
But I did think that was pretty interesting article.
That is interesting. Maybe go over dopamine talk a little bit more because I
Yeah.
feel like we've talked about it a little bit before in one of our earlier podcast episodes, but I think I was talking about my experience with dopamine talk, but maybe you should, I guess, go over the clinical studies again over dopamine talk and how that can negatively affect you if you're not deemed as a doer and rather just a talker.
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, so you guys are all very familiar with dopamine. You know, it's a chemical compound in your brain that it's a pleasure compound. So anytime you experience some sort form of pleasure or and then this kind of correlates a lot to like ambition, right? And so when you're first talking about an idea, you get really excited because it's something new and you're like hyped for. And so the dopamine levels start to rise a little bit and you get hit by that. But
Hmm.
the problem is you're not actually doing the thing. You're just excited about the thing, right? And so even though you're hitting that dopamine, you're not actually doing it. And so what's more effective is actually going out and doing the thing and then receiving dopamine that way. So that way you're actually being rewarded because you're putting out outcomes, you know. So the dopamine talk, like Brad's saying, is this talk beforehand when you're in the planning phase. I mean, we've all had this. Like when you're probably, you know, like in high school and you have some idea of like a cool business you want to start and it comes to you and like, dang, nobody's ever thought about that before. And the dopamine really hits and you're sharing it with somebody. That's the dopamine talk, right? And it doesn't matter if the idea is good or not. That's not the point. It's just you're not actually doing the thing, you know? And
Hmm.
so people fall into this trap all the time. And I think we kind of at first were like worried about it because we're like, hey, we're talking about first pitch, we have this idea, but let's make sure we actually go and like do it now. And I think this is why content is a good thing, Brad, like you said in the beginning, because content, even though you are just like publicly sharing your goals and you're receiving dopamine that way, you're actually like going through the process of filming yourself. You have to edit it. You're filming yourself doing the thing, you know?
Right.
So that's why it's a good, like putting out content and you're like growing your personal brand is a good thing because you're actually doing the action. You're not just like talking to talk, you know?
No, yeah, I completely agree. I feel like that's a very dangerous place to go in. You kind of just have to be honest with yourself
Yeah.
depending on what your personality type is when you approach some of these things, but it's very easy to get caught in that. I've been caught in it myself. That's why when I tell people about a goal, I won't tell them until like something's actually moving a little bit, just like
Mhm.
the fire's like a little bit lit.
Totally, totally.
And then I feel like it's a little bit different when you record it to the world versus telling your
Mhm.
family. Because
Mhm.
telling your family, that's only a couple people. That's people you trust. It's people you know. It's very comfortable, whatever. You tell them a goal, cool. I
Mhm.
mean, it's whatever. But when you record it and put it out into the world and all of a sudden you have thousands of people watching you
Yeah.
online, that's 1,000 plus people that you just gave your word to, and they're
Yeah.
here for that goal. And then you start get followers and subscribers for that content, and because they want to follow you along on that journey. And if you stop and if you don't live by your word, you're disappointing all those other people. And if they were to ever come back, they're gonna trust you a lot less, and then it's gonna be a lot harder to actually gain that
Yeah.
presence on social media.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point because we kind of give like a certain level of respect to a vast
Hmm.
audience, right? Like we as humans care a lot about what other people think, unfortunately, but can also be to our good in this way, right? Where we respect these thousands of people who follow us on Instagram and we wanna they're keeping us accountable, right?
Hmm.
Because like we're putting out content to them, they follow us, they see our content. And I actually want to quote another study really quick that relates to this a lot. It was done, I think, at Ohio State, but they basically talked with people about their goals and if they kept them private versus who they actually told them to, right? So not just the
Hmm.
idea of sharing them, but like who are you sharing them to? And they said if it was somebody who had a higher level of respect for, they're more likely to keep them like accountable to them and more likely to go through with it, right? So think of like a respected mentor or like a respected friend or like your parents or like you said, this big audience on Instagram. who you give a high level of respect to, right? So if it's anybody that you give respect to and you share your goal with them, you're more likely to accomplish that goal by like 50%, which is pretty crazy. So
Mhm.
that's why I think content, like you're saying, Brad, it's a good thing because you're giving respect to these people out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I had actually pretty similar talking points right there,
Yeah, yeah.
where it's called the social contract, where basically when you give, like you were saying, your goals to someone like a high status mentor,
Mhm,
almost creates more of like a commitment contract that
mhm.
forces you to perform, because that's if you look bad, you're making them look bad, you know?
Yeah. Mhm,
But conversely, if you share with more yes men, it creates more of a social reality where
mhm.
your brain thinks you've already won just because people are cheering,
Yeah,
which in the end kills your drive just because people are cheering. So I do agree with that. I think you need proof of work over promises in general.
mhm.
People tend to promise a lot, but they never actually put it into action. You could say,
Yeah,
I'm going to do a bunch of research on this or edit this video, and it's fun to talk about. But obviously, doing the work and being consistent isn't entirely fun, and I think that's what kind of stops people. So I feel like people really need, again, focus on building in public. It If you build in public, it more so reinforces your identity as a doer. It
mhm,
shows people that you're
mhm.
willing to do things. If you talk about a result like I have 30 days to hit 100K, people are going to be more willing to help you reach that goal because obviously people want to see other normal people win.
Yeah,
And when you mention it and put that out in the world, it actually increases the likelihood of that goal being achieved. And
yeah,
then you have something called the accountability gap, where you highlight by telling people about your goals, and it'll make you feel like it'll have like a psychological gap between your current state and your current goal. So if you share that goal with the right people, that gap creates tension that you
mhm,
can only resolve by doing the work. So
mhm.
obviously tell people that, like me and you, obviously, where it's you're someone I have in my life that I respect, but you are also someone that will keep me accountable for those things. So it's
Yeah,
like drawing the line between someone that you trust and respect, but will also get you going if something's not in line at the end of the day. So it's again, I'm bringing that back to a point as like having a co-founder is so much easier when you're trying
yeah,
to get something off the floor. So if you lack in one area where if you're not as motivated to get going, maybe have a founder or a co-founder that will help you to achieve whatever those goals are in your life so you could get that business and those goals off the ground and running and put a fire under you.
yeah.
And then I'd say my last point, I know I'm yapping right now, but
No, you're good, you're good.
leveraging social feedback. I
Mhm,
feel like that is the most important takeaway from this. So when you show what you're doing online, you aren't just seeking just the attention itself. You're actually gathering market data
mhm,
from things like Instagram that shows you the analysis of how your videos are performing. So scaling a business in a vacuum is pretty slow, but showing the work allows your network to provide the referrals, I guess, and the lucky
mhm,
breaks that only happen when people know exactly what you're building. So things like different connections with I guess brand deals or someone who or a mentor that's even trying to work with you. It By you putting your face out into the world, you're a lot more likely to have a stronger network, therefore helping you build your company a lot faster and a lot stronger.
yeah, exactly, and that's why, like, LinkedIn is so effective because and there's definitely a lot of LinkedIn posts that are can be very cringe, right? And just
Mhm.
like have nothing and so you gotta use LinkedIn the right way. Like, don't just go on and post like really stupid stuff that makes your brand look even worse. But no, it's true because it's so effective. Like when you're posting constantly, like, daily or weekly, and you're showing like things you're building, you're working on, people notice that and it just grows your network, like you're saying, Brad. I think people have always wondered because social media is still relatively new in the world. It's only 10, 15 years old, if
Mhm.
that. And it really like has started picking up the past few years. And I think a lot of people have been curious about like how are a lot of these influencers and people putting out content making so much money or like getting so many opportunities, right? Because a lot of people don't know this, but most like social media actual platforms don't necessarily compensate or pay like extremely well. Like, sure, you
Mhm.
can get some, but that's not their main source of income for a lot of these like influencers and creators. But rather, like to your point, what's happening is they're putting out their content, they're showing their brand, they're showing their story. And then even if you can just get one person, the right person to find you who is some big business guy or is starting their own business and wants you to market their brand or just whatever it may be, like it opens so many doors because
Mhm.
social media it's connected with the whole world, right? And so I mean, and we're just starting here, so we haven't necessarily found that breakthrough for first pitch yet. But I suspect that as we can continue to stay, consistent and work hard, that really soon, like we'll start to see people coming through and wanting to be a part of our network, right? And joining us and highlighting entrepreneurs and everything. So I mean, I think it'd be good for us to share, Brad, too, just like how can we do social media and content the right way? Like how can we share our goals in the way that makes our story effective and opens those doors, you know?
Yeah, I think people forget that they have free will.
Yeah.
Funny enough, people I think people get stuck in one bad mindset versus the other, whereas people think like, "Oh, I need to make videos like everyone else, or I need to make videos that my audience wants." And that's good, but that's half the battle. Obviously, you need to make stuff that people would want to watch, but I in the beginning, you should post what you want to post. I mean, that's what you should be doing anyways. You should be taking that section, 50% of what you want to do and then 50% of what the audience wants from you and
Yeah.
then combine that. But in the beginning, it doesn't matter. Get reps. Get
Yeah.
reps.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do. Record what you want. Talk about what you want. And you'll
Wasn't it,
find that.
sorry to cut you not cut you off, but I think it was Mr. Beast who, like, he posted 500 videos out
Yeah.
before he even, like, got, like, over 100 1,000 views on a video. Like,
Hmm.
he just knew that if he posted every day and just put in reps that he would have his breakthrough. And a lot of those videos were just so dumb and just weird and poorly filmed, but, like, that's the point is, like, he
Hmm.
didn't care. Like, he knew eventually he could build an audience where he would tailor to what they wanna see.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he did exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to go viral. That was his goal. He was just following his goal at the end of the day. And he knew even if it was a niche group, he knew he was gonna find that group at one point, and
Yeah.
then more and more people wanted to see what he was doing, and then he scaled from there.
Yeah.
So, do what you would want to do. I mean, me and Rose, we agreed on a lot of these points, but I think you should be honest with yourself, have an honest conversation, and think, do I wanna show this to the public, or do I wanna keep this more private while I scale and do what I wanna do? I mean, obviously, we have our opinions at the end of the day, but you are the brand owner. You know exactly what's right for your brand, and you should execute on that.
Yeah, I agree with you. To me, like based off this conversation, kind of summarize everything. It's really less about like private versus public. It's more about what's your strategy for your brand, right? And your
Mhm,
just personal development. Like what works for you. You know, I think we're all just different. I mean, I had some notes written here about like Frank Ocean, for example. Like he was just super quiet about his music and his creation. He didn't give any teasers or leaks or anything really. He just worked in silence for 4 years, and that's like something he credited to his success. But
mhm,
now you're seeing a lot of people who are working and filming it and putting out content, and that's how they keep themselves accountable, like we've talked about today. And so it's really up to what is your situation? What's best for you right now? You know, like if you're around people who are really negative and are just going to shoot you down, maybe it is better to work in private just for a little bit, right? But if you're willing to take that step and go public on social media, which I totally recommend. I hope people don't think like you shouldn't use. So I'm
mhm,
very a firm believer in that. And that's something I want to do more. And so it's just about your strategy, right? And like tailoring your strategy to your needs and to what your brand needs, to what you're hoping to get out of. Because I've seen it both ways, and so just do what's best for you at this time. I mean, Brad and I talked about this for so long, but we're in a gold mine era of social media. Like, take advantage of it. Like, it's so easy to go viral nowadays. Like,
mhm,
the algorithm is built for your success, honestly. So, like, take advantage of it now. Don't waste the opportunity. Again, if you're in a weird situation, we understand. But like, if you have, if you have a phone, if you have, just that's all you kind of need is just a phone. You
mhm,
can just film yourself, post it, and I think it's cool. We've seen one of our friends from our fraternity who, he started a barber shop on our campus, and he started filming his content, and it's already like doing really well. And it's just cool to see like anybody can do it, bro. Like literally anybody can do it. You don't need the best resources right
mhm.
now. Those will come over time. And so, yeah, it's like just, I guess in the end, just strategize, create a plan that works for you, but definitely try to get to the point where you can start using content and social media as a backbone.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. It's again, like you said, it's never been easier to start a business now. I'd say our current day and age right now is, I guess, it's pretty similar to what our parents were when the internet first came out. Internet was huge. People were trying to understand it, and those who took the time to learn it are the ones who did well. Google, eBay, a lot of those major, I guess, leads to set the way for the internet wave. They're the ones who won significantly in the end. And I feel like this AI era, or yeah, it's very, very similar to what's going on now. So take advantage of that.
Mhm.
You might be in like 5 years, you might be looking back to this current time in our life and think, man, I should have taken action. Man, I should have just gone into Claude or Chat GBT, said, this is a business that I've been passionate about. How can I monetize this? And then how could I grow with it on social media and get out of my 9 to 5? And
Mhm.
boom, go from there. It's as easy as that. I think a lot of people know that, but they're too lazy to even do that, which is
Yeah.
crazy. So I don't know. I feel like the winners are going to win and the losers are going to lose in this next time or this next era of a business. That gap's going to get even bigger though. So
Yeah.
it just, you have to decide which gap you want to be on.
Yeah. 100%. I love that. So I guess kind of just to summarize for you guys, just I guess 4 steps to leave with you all to think about. One, strategize your plan, tailor it to your needs. What is your goals and how do you want to share those? Two,
Mhm,
take advantage of social media. For sure, we're in a gold mine era. Three, take advantage of AI. We're also in a gold mine era. There's so many resources there. You can just they can just put out content for you. Honestly, it's
mhm,
it's it's amazing. And then four, do not fall into the dopamine trap, which was my very first point. The dopamine talk trap, right? That's a big warning we want to give to you guys. Is it's fun and it's great to talk about your plans, but don't let that be all. Just start going out and doing it.
mhm,
Like you can't just get in your head. Like just I think, and honestly, here's a tip of mine. If you do have a dopamine talk and you're talking with somebody about some goal you have, something you're excited for, right after that discussion, go out and do the first step, whatever that step is. Just do it, right? Like, don't stop there. Do the first step and build some momentum of actually acting. And so,
mhm,
I mean, I feel like if you guys follow this framework, follow some of the points we've talked about, you're bound for success, honestly. And the worst that can happen is you're on social media and people see your views and they think it's funny, but cool, you get another amount of followers and people who want to support you. So it really is a win-win situation.
I completely agree. What episode was this?
I think 5,
It's gotta be more
right?
than that. I don't
Is it? Okay. I don't know.
Jeez,
I'm
this
getting
just
lost.
just tells you guys how long it's been. It's gonna be a lot more consistent from now.
Yeah.
We'll figure out what episode it is. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys got a lot from this video, and we will see you next week.
Let's go.